So for this video, we're going to be going over the Kitchen QA portion for the McDonald's program. So we're going to have our CAD file open, and I have frozen all the layers to display just the kitchen plan and floor plan information, and we have our 360 images open. So the main thing we're looking at here for the Kitchen QA is the equipment. We need to show the footprint of any equipment that is basically touching the ground, whether it be on casters or actual feet, as we see here in the image. So this worktop counter, this display fridge, ice cream machine, things like that, we definitely need to show. Anything that is sitting on the counters, such as the coffee machines, the cream and sugar dispenser, McFlurry, all the things on the counter can be what we call illustrated. So they have a level of tolerance that we can be able to place these by photos if need be. Another key thing we want to look for are these chases that you'll see in this photo. These chases are for elec and plumbing, or even a combo of both at times. So we definitely need to make sure those are placed, and we can see that here in the CAD file. Our elec chases are represented with this X through them. Some are square, some are rectangular. Either way, we're going to represent them with that X through them. So let's go ahead and start this QA. So as mentioned before, we have our display fridge. We can clearly see this worktop, the items on top of the worktop, as well as the combo ice cream machine. And across the way we have our POS stations, which are shown on the main service counter. As we move to the next photo, we have a worktop cart here, and then this is kind of the main service station, or prep station if you will, for the prep line, as we see here. We have the HLZ unit as represented in CAD. That is going to be the hot landing zone, and that is just behind these little trays for condiments, and we definitely want to make sure that that's placed and we have it correct. And typically it's centered with these UHC tables, so we'll definitely want to verify that as we move forward. And across the way we have the auto smoothie machine, which we can tell is the auto smoothie machine because of the blender here, and this will be the espresso machine directly next to it with the worktop fridge below. So we'll see that here in the CAD file. The only difference is we don't have the label for the espresso machine, so I'm just going to put a rectangle around this and revisit that later to add in its label. Moving forward, we will take a look into the presenter area. So in the presenter area, again, we want to show the footprint of this work table, which is represented, and we want to show all these items on the counter, which it looks like we do have in the CAD file. We also want to show this above wall mounted fridge, which we do have. That is labeled as WMF. And another thing we need to look out for is this chase here, which we do see in the image and can verify. We can use the ACT grid to kind of verify its location. As we can see, it will go up to the ceiling. So in CAD you'll want to toggle on and off the ACT grid, or a few other RCP layers such as elec and things of that nature as you do the Kitchen QA, just to verify that info. Here we have the auto beverage system, and we have that drawn here. All of our kitchen blocks are dynamic, so we have features to rotate text or change size. For certain items, we want to make sure that they are the correct size. Things like this auto beverage system are not all the same size. Some stores will have a different size one than others, so we can use the floor tiles. These are typically a 6-inch square tile, so we can use these floor tiles to kind of determine the size and verify that info. Moving forward, we have our fry line area as well as the prep line area. We can see from here that the HLZ is not actually centered on these tables as is shown in CAD, so we're okay there, but I am seeing that we have the fry station kind of going into the wall here. From the photos it looks like it's butted directly up to the wall, so we can go ahead and make that easy adjustment by just shifting the blocks over, and we can move forward with that. Another thing we need to check is the ventilation systems here. So this ventilation system above the fry station is going to need to be shown on both the kitchen plan and RCP. It's going to be shown on the kitchen plan because it is going to be part of this equipment, and it's going to show on the RCP as it is affecting the ACT grid. You'll see that the grid is actually built around, so this unit goes up to the ceiling or even past the ceiling. We also need to verify these chases here. These are going to supply the gas or electricity or any other needs to these stations. So again, those chases are represented with the X through it. So now we'll want to toggle on the RCP layers and just verify that this is in the correct location. So that's just turning on something like the ceiling grid and just verifying its location. And that looks okay. Moving forward with the kitchen area, we also need to make sure that we're showing these elect items here on the soffit as well as ceiling electrical. And the major thing with the ceiling electrical are these special purpose elect drops here. That's their EOS systems. So these are special purpose elect drops, just as I said, and we do need to locate these. They are going to be important for our client to have that information. So that should be on our ceiling elect layer. We can toggle that on along with the grid and just verify those locations. They should be drawn with a circle, or if we have the inline ones, we want to represent kind of what it looks like there. So we can verify that info as we move further into the QA. So we can see here that this EOS system should actually be on the other side of this grid. So we can mark that up for the surveyor to look at, or we can potentially make that adjustment ourselves. In the meantime, I am just going to mark that up and come back to it later. So now you'll see that we are further into the prep line. We have our full height freezer that is represented. We have this cart. We have the queuing oven cart, which has a queuing oven on top and the biscuit oven below. The other thing we need to make note of and verify is this elect chase, and we do need to show this ceiling drop. We're not going to show basic outlets such as just the duplex. We need to show any special purpose electrical outlets, so that's where these EOS drops come in, and if we do see them on the wall, we'll need to show those as well. So here we have the reach-in fridge, we also have the bun cart, and then this is our toaster table. So the bun cart may be showing in photos, but may not be in the drawing. It just depends on where those are at the time of the survey. If we see them in the photo and not in the drawing, we can place them from photos as they're movable and they move throughout the store throughout the day. So in this next image, we have a prep refrigerator. We also have the vegetable sink as well as a hand sink. We do want to take note of floor sinks like this one here. Those do need to be represented on the plan. We do not need to show these smaller drains such as the little 4-inch diameter drains or cleanouts, those are not really going to be that important. So now we're working our way down the cook line here. As you can see, we have the egg cooker on a cart as well as a wall-mounted freezer. We'll want to show those items, and it looks like we have that. And then we have the 4-vat LOV fry station that we can just see over here. Looks like the drawing has the extra label. So I'm just going to mark this again to come back later and fix that label. As we move down, we have the queuing oven cart, and that is represented down here. We have the 2 queuing ovens on a cart. That's how we know that. Then again, like we want to show on the fry line, we need to show the ventilation for the fry station as well as its chase here. And it looks like we have both of those. We also have the HC high capacity freezer. This is distinguished by the top access here. They're able to open the lid here and get to the frozen patties as they're cooking. So we want to locate that. Again, those come in different sizes as well. So you'll see in our drawing here we have 2 different ones of 2 different sizes. These are dynamic, so we can use the tiles on the floor to kind of help dictate what that size should be and just verify that the surveyor did that correctly. As we move back further, it looks like we have another EOS drop here that we'd want to see on the RCP, so we'd want to flip those layers on and just double check that that's located properly. And here we have the hand sink. It doesn't look like there's a floor sink below it anywhere, and we don't have one on the CAD, so hopefully that isn't being hidden by the HC freezer. Another thing we want to look out for on the chases, and we can see it pretty well right here with this one being mostly exposed, is the anvil pulls. We want to make sure that we're picking up any anvil pulls that are on chases or even on equipment. Sometimes the equipment may have the pull on it itself. So moving on, here we are at the back side of the kitchen area, moving to the back of house stuff more. And these are what the anvil pulls look like. So they're basically valve pulls that are for fire safety systems for the equipment. They are being represented here with this block. It looks like there's a couple block references though, so we'll want to clean that up and make sure that we only show one block there. So I'm going to mark that to come back and look at later. Moving on, we have the freezer door and the back of house stuff. So this would just be basic QA. We don't need to show this cart back here, as it looks like it has the trays on it, so it's probably moving around the space quite a bit, so it's okay that we don't have that placed. So I've skipped ahead again to just move into the back of house area. So you'll see we have the hand sink here, the drawing cart, same as we see in the photo, and the 3-compartment sink we do want to show. It's showing that there is a grate underneath under the sink, which we're seeing in the photo, and the surveyor has shown that as well. And then we have the floor sink. The other thing showing is the floor sink here, so it looks like it's being covered by either the trash can or this cart, so we'll definitely look to another photo to verify that info. And we have the IT closet, which will show the outline of this server rack, and it looks like the surveyor did that, so we're okay there. And in this photo we have the mop sink, which is represented with a mop sink, though in the image it looks like it is a floor sink that's kind of recessed in. That's okay, since it is kind of with the janitorial stuff. We'll go ahead and keep that as a mop sink. And it looks like in this photo we can verify that floor sink, that it is over by the 3-comp sink, so we're good with that. onto the next image. So now we're more in the storage area. That is going to be the main elect panel, which it looks like is here. And then we have our ice machine. So we'll definitely want to just keep an eye out for any chases around this, as it does need plumbing. But in this case it looks like there are none, at least from this image. So these big gray containers here are going to be the bulk oil vats, and another way to identify those are with this trap here. This is what they're using to filter and pour the oil back into these vats as need be. And then these two large vats are going to be the bulk coke that is shown here in the CAD. Then we have the washing machine, and the next cylinder here is going to be the bulk CO2, which this one we're able to at least see the label, which is helpful. Then we have the hot water heater showing that step there that it sits on, which is fine. And then the CO2 controls, that is usually this big unit that's under the soda syrup boxes. So it's usually a combo thing here that makes it easier to distinguish and identify. Then it looks like the surveyor has drawn in a water main kind of footprint, which is fine. We don't want to show each of these pipes individually in the exact layout. What they've put here is fine. We could also label it as domestic water if we wanted to. Now we've moved into the dry storage area in the back of house. So our verification here for equipment is really just the storage racks, so we want to make sure that they have the right amount and what look to be the correct size. Just with using some of the tiles we can judge the length. The width is pretty standard, so I'm not terribly worried about that, and these bun carts are just going to be representational. So that basically is it for our kitchen QA. If you want, you can have the RCP layers on if that helps, and you can do the RCP QA and other stuff all in one shot, or you can do this in two passes, one for just the kitchen and then the other for just structural and RCP items. If you have any questions, please reach out to the project manager or the CAD manager, and we will get those answered as best as we can. Thank you.